Netflix just bought Warner Brothers Discovery, meaning the top streamer for WWE and the top streamer for AEW are finna go full Brady Bunch. We'll get into what all that means shortly because there's a million ways this scenario can play out, including the entire deal falling apart altogether, which is actually what I think is gonna happen. But again, we'll get to all that soon. One of the more intriguing possibilities of Netflix Brothers Discovery is a super show between WWE and AEW. If it happened, it could be on HBO Max, which Netflix will own if the deal goes through next year. AEW still has multiple years left on its contract with WBD, which includes a streaming and pay-per-view deal with HBO Max. Today, we're going to talk about the ramifications of Netflix to WBD and how it could lead to the first interpromotional pay-per-view between the top two national American wrestling companies ever. We'll talk about realistic dream matches like Orange Cassidy versus Mr. Iguana, a grudge match for the ages stemming back to the Brawl Out, a Shield reunion, and why all these dreams will go up in flames after a fascist fucks the deal. Subscribe and vibe. Netflix is set to acquire WBD in a game-changing $82 billion merger that will impact politics, movies, television, and most importantly, professional wrestling. If this deal goes through, and that's a huge if, in fact, it'll be one of the biggest ifs of 2026, but if it goes through, AEW's future will be even more complicated. A Netflix WBD takeover means Netflix will be a streamer and a movie studio, but all the television properties like TBS, TNT, and CNN will not be owned by Netflix. Instead, the Turner Networks will have a new stepdaddy as part of Discovery Global. AEW would still air pay-per-views on HBO Max as part of Warner Brothers through 2027. After that, the future of AEW starts to get sketchy. The first thing that happens after every merger are mass layoffs. Think of a merger as a marriage and a marriage as a merger. When people get married, all the wedding speeches always end with, "Welcome to the family." No, your family didn't get bigger. It just lost a son and a daughter-in-law. They got married, started a new company, and now it's time to fire some cousins, in-laws, and drinking buddies. Weddings are more of a goodbye party, and the last time everybody will be drunk together as a family before motherfuckers gotta make cuts. Speaking of cuts, Netflix Brothers Discovery is about to do its best impression of Doge if a merger goes through. There will be mass layoffs. They will have to cut the fat. What they won't do is pay another wrestling company $185 million a year when they already committed $5 billion to WWE. Given the generational pettiness of WWE, I wouldn't be surprised if TKO has a clause that makes WWE the exclusive pro wrestling streaming partner of Netflix. But looking at this solely from a business standpoint, AEW would be redundant as part of Netflix's portfolio, and mergers are where redundancy goes to die. But while AEW is still under contract, they could go out with a blaze if Netflix is interested in a crossover event with WWE. Remember, Netflix's deal to air weekly live programming with WWE is an experiment and an exception to the rule. I don't think weekly live shows are something Netflix is interested in doing with just anybody. When it comes to live programming, Netflix is a big event company. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, the Beyonce Bowl on Christmas. Netflix Live all started with the disaster that was the Love is Blind reunion in 2023, which was hosted quite terribly by the idiot out-of-touch Lachey's. AEW's long-term future would be grim if WBD was sold to Netflix, but short-term, Netflix could and should squeeze the last drop of juice out of its relationship with AEW on HBO Max. A Super Show pay-per-view pitting WWE against AEW could legally air on HBO Max this time next year. It would essentially be AEW's swan song under WBD as we know it. If Netflix said they wanted a big event between WWE and AEW, what's Tony Khan gonna say? No? Tony can't stand up to his own talent. You think he's gonna buck back at his boss? WWE would be incentivized to do this live event because they would be the alpha. In this hypothetical, Netflix is the parent company of WBD. The politics would be strongly in favor of WWE. And as great as some of these dream matches sound, it would be like one of those WWE versus TNA crossover shows where all the Fed guys go over. But forget all the politics and Wall Street red tape for a minute. Just think about the possibilities of WWE versus AEW from a wrestling standpoint. The Netflix Forbidden Door could be a tryout for a lot of AEW talent. If Netflix owned HBO Max, AEW would be lame duck status. Even if they did score a deal with an Amazon Prime or a Disney Plus, because AEW is such a family-friendly company. But even if AEW landed another deal outside of WBD, I think WWE would be all for a super show on HBO Max. That way, TKO can scout and totally not tamper with top AEW talent as they head into free agency. Talking about, oh, hello, Tony Storm. My name is Nick Khan. I run Hollywood. New Hollywood. I'd love to see your acting reel. But here's my wish list and how it'd probably be booked. Orange Cassidy versus Mr. Iguana. The ultimate comedy match filled with low effort, low kicks and iguana spots. The finish will come when Orange Cassidy does the job to Lieska. Jey Uso versus Adam Page. It's the Yeet Man versus a Hangman. Old school crackers hate Jey Uso. Even as a progressive cowboy, Hangman Adam Page is a white devil these crackers know. But in the end, Jey Uso would win in a squash match after Hangman tweets about his disgust for Vince McMahon. AEW would technically get its first win with a Shield reunion as Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins face the Elite. Javon Evans versus Darby Allin could clash in a culture-bending battle. White people don't have a culture. They colonize most of it. Having said that, skateboarding is the closest thing Caucasians do have to a culture. Javon Evans is pro wrestling's answer to NBA Youngboy, and I'm here for it. Javon wins after Darby gets buried because he forgot to shake hands backstage with Booker T. Brock Lesnar versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a meat match. Rare versus Well Done. Will Hobbs springs the upset, skips African NXT, and goes undefeated on the main roster. WWE knows Tony fumbled Will Hobbs, and they're petty enough to prove it. Jade Cargill versus Dr. Britt Baker. These two top stars never crossed paths in AEW, which is typical of Tony Khan's crappy booking. Jade and Britt went back and forth on Twitter a few times, and reading the tweets, it seemed like a shoot. I'd love to see this first-time matchup, even if TKO does book Jade to squash Brittany. Tiffany Stratton versus Toni Storm. It's Barbie versus Oppenheimer. The buildup would go so crazy, Toni Storm would make herself into the most sought-after free agent after AEW disappears from WBD. Rhea Ripley versus Chris Statlander. Need I say more? Bianca Belair versus Willow Nightingale. Need I say more? Mercedes Moné versus Stephanie Vaquer. This was my favorite match from Forbidden Door 2024, and it was so good, WWE swooped in and signed Stephanie, who is now a megastar. As great as Vaquer has been in WWE, she had her best match against Mercedes. Given how much both Stephanie and Ultimo Moné have leveled up since that match just a year ago, this could be a semi-main event at least. Cody Rhodes versus Swerve Strickland. The winner gets the big piece of chicken at the cookout. And in the main event, just to encapsulate the eternal blood war between WWE and AEW, CM Punk finally pays off his feud with Jack Perry in a tables match. But not just any tables match, a glass tables match. Fake glass. This is Netflix, not TNT. And that's all I want for motherfucking Christmas. But don't hold your breath. This is all just a pipe dream. Not because of ego and wrestling politics. Well, kind of because of that, but mostly because there are too many loud, rich, and powerful forces against this deal happening. The movie theater mafia is scared to death. Netflix Brothers Discovery might mean most, if not all, Warner Brothers movies will go straight to streaming. Unions are strongly against this deal because mass layoffs means less union jobs. There's an antitrust component to all this, which could lead to Trump nixing the deal out of fear of a monopoly. No, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Out of fear of a Netflix monopoly because Netflix isn't a Trump ally yet. But Paramount Plus is. The Ellison family has so much money, some people think they control the weather. Their words, not mine. Larry Ellison owns Paramount Plus, who lost out on the deal to buy WBD after being a frontrunner. They won't go down without a fight. Paramount Plus made a controversial decision to settle a lawsuit with Donald Trump over an interview with his forever op Kamala Harris. The Plus people made an even more polarizing call to cancel The Late Show, featuring Donald Trump's forever op Stephen Colbert. All this Trump glazing was done to appease the Donald so he could approve another merger, this time between Paramount and Skydance. That merger officially closed in August. This quid quo pro relationship between Donald Trump and Paramount Plus is what I think is gonna undermine the Netflix purchase of WBD. Whoever even put this contract together was already extremely skeptical about Netflix and WBD even making it to the altar because they already signed a prenup. The Netflix WBD deal comes with a historic breakup fee if the deal falls apart, meaning Netflix would have to pay WBD $5.8 billion if they didn't merge. the highest breakup of all time. Warner Brothers like, we're leaving here with something. Ever the politician, Donald Trump recently and randomly lashed out at both Paramount Plus and Netflix. Except it wasn't random. The Donald wants the two biggest streamers in the world literally fighting over his approval. Whoever proves their loyalty wins a real-life game of Monopoly, and Paramount Plus has a $16 million head start. It's fun to fantasy book what the WBD sale means for WWE and AEW, but with all the hoops Netflix is gonna have to jump through to get this deal done, a Netflix and WBD dream match could turn into a nightmare. Speaking of nightmares, here's an update about Tony Khan's championship belt addiction. What are some of your WWE versus AEW dream matches and stips? Tell me in the comments!